Here we go. We're about to go live. And then you guys, microphone green. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
Morning.
Morning.
Mayor Holman?
Good morning.
Good morning. Mayor Crawford is running a few minutes late. Would you mind in starting the meeting for us, calling it to order?
Okay. Let me get my papers done here. I was running late. I just barely got here.
That's okay.
I'd like to call this meeting to order, which is a regular meeting of the Joint Use Board on this 7th day of March, 2021 at 10 a.m. Will we get a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Holman?
Here.
Joey Jarvis?
Here.
Councilor Cornelius?
Here.
Councilor Jackson?
Here.
And Mayor Crawford will be joining us in a few.
Okay, next, in order to be considered is approval of the agenda. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion, second. Could we have a vote?
A roll call, yes, sir. Councilor Cornelius?
Aye.
Councilor Jackson?
Aye.
Mayor Holman?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is regular items. Number 1 under that category is discussion and possible action on approval of minutes of January the 20th, 2021, the regular meeting. I would entertain a motion on this item.
Mr. Mayor, move to approve the minutes as presented for January 20th, 2021.
Second.
Is there discussion on this item?
I'll proceed with the roll call. Councilor Jackson?
Aye.
Councilor Cornelius?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Mayor Holman?
Aye.
Thank you.
Number 2, under regular items, is a monthly report on the regional wastewater treatment plant. I would entertain a motion concerning the monthly report on the regional wastewater treatment plant.
Isaac?
Good morning,
Good morning.
Mayor and councilors. How are you guys doing today?
Well, and yourself?
I'm doing great. Last month went pretty smooth. We didn't see nothing too weird or out of the ordinary. We are still removing 98.8 of everything coming in. Our flows weren't totally out of whack at all. They were, we averaged 1.34 for the month. As far as fog results go, I took one at the Apache Travel Center and we did get a non-detectable. And I think it's because possibly the restaurant wasn't in operation at that moment. I did get the End of the Mountain Gods, which was 47.8, and at Palmer Loop, which was 51.7. I mean, they're not doing too bad. They could always do better. It's the community that it could be an educational type thing where they're just dumping grease possibly into the drains, but that's nothing new. I did have to report something at the moment. My flows have been pretty low. I don't know, Adam, if possibly if they're working somewhere possibly by our metering station. But I did notice this past week and part of last week that our flows have been kind of weird. coming into the facility. You'll probably see that on next month's report. So I just thought I'd just bring that up.
They are working on Gavilan, Isaac, but they have not bypassed the metering station or anything else like that.
Nothing like that, huh? But they are working on Gavilan, so that's right before the metering station, so that could possibly be it.
That could be.
Okay.
Well, Adam, it's John. As they get more of this lined, you're gonna see your flows go down because of the infiltration, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
You know what? You're absolutely right, and that could possibly be it. Because our flows have been dropping down as we've been seeing them complete this project.
Yeah, they could have hit a piece of line that had a lot of infiltration in it and actually sealed that one up, and that's the thing you're seeing. So we'll have to keep an eye on it and see if it picks back up or not.
Well,
Yes,
I think
sir.
they're over half done on that part of the project, so.
Yes, sir.
That's all I have to report for the month. That was the only weird thing that I've been seeing lately. And I was just wondering if SAK was doing any work right there on the metering station or.
Isaac, it's John again. I had another question. It seems like your dissolved oxygen levels were higher than normal. Is that true, and why?
It could be a temperature thing.
Okay,
In the colder temperatures, you'll probably have a higher dissolved oxygen rate. I'm trying to find that paper, I'm sorry.
well, you had some up in the sevens, and usually you don't get your 6 or below, in the 6s or below.
Yeah, I see that. And let's see what date that fell on. So that was on a Wednesday, a Friday. Temperature was 12 point something.
Monday, Wednesday.
Yeah, it would have to have been something to do with the temperature possibly coming in to the facility, or if we had a lot of bypass to our equalization basins that sat overnight, possibly. I see what you're talking about, though. We'll have to keep an eye on those too, but there's really no control over that at all as far as operations go. They're just going to do what they do as far as when the temperature gets warmer or colder.
Yeah, well, that's why we need to get that UAA done.
Yes, sir, definitely. Definitely. Any more questions for me on this? I know this is off kilter, but they are working this goes to Gary Jackson, Councilor Jackson. They are working on the fence as we speak right now. I think they're installing the main portion of it, so that's a good thing.
Oh, thank you for that update, Isaac.
I know it's not on my agenda, and I apologize for that, but I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Well, it's all part of your report, so I think it's germane.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. That's all I have.
Thank you, Isaac. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And clerk, if you need to help me a little bit, I appreciate the fact you did on that last one. Feel free to do so. I'm open to suggestions on this, but I'll struggle through this. On item number 3 is update. It's a report on the sanitary sewer system repair and rehabilitation project. DR 1783-PW155. We have a report on this, please.
Good morning, Chairman and board members. I would like to give a little update on where we're at with the sanitary sewer system project. We're right now in construction, of course, with phase 1, which is the restoration phase. Phase 2, lift stations, we're expecting, or the bids are due on the 23rd of March. So once those bids come in and they get evaluated, we're prepared to bring this back to the JUB in April, which is April 21st, unless we do call a special meeting. That will be brought back to this board for approval and acceptance. I wanted to report that the hazard mitigation phase of the project is, right now we're obtaining and securing easements for that project, or that phase of the project. As far as the lift stations go, we have secured all the easements needed to move into construction or to move that project forward. So our focus is just on hazard mitigation, obtaining those easements. We right now have Moles and the surveyor working on amending some of the access easements that we had. We're defining those a little bit better, so we'll be moving forward on those and expecting to get back out. Hopefully, we'll have everything secured by the end of July. So far, there's a little bit of updates to the sheet that was provided to you. We did get another pay application in from SAK. Their contract between the restoration phase, the lift station phase, which is an engineer's estimate, and the hazard mitigation phase, which is also an engineer's estimate. That's the total construction cost of $30,780,716 for the entire sanitary sewer line project. The restoration phase has an estimated completion date right now, June 4th. They did have, we do have an additional 177 days from the time that we received the notice to proceed to move forward. So the engineers have that booked, but have not had a reason to bring it back yet for a change order. And the way the construction is going right now with SAK, they're looking at still possibly completing sometime sooner. So we will be bringing that back for an approval if needed. Right now, the restoration phase is billed at 45%, so they're moving right along. On this sheet that was provided, you'll see the breakdown of the easements, the expenses for the easements, that have been paid to date. We've paid out $65,331 of property acquisitions for all three phases combined. You'll see that we've spent $71,000 on attorney fees, but this is from the inception, which is from 2019 through now, along with appraiser fees of $41,710. And then there's a $25 filing fee. So each time that we receive an easement, we record them, and right now we've spent $925 on that as well. The potential cost for securing all the easements at this time is predicted to be $358,000. The village has been corresponding with Department of Homeland Security. We are working on lining up a meeting with their cabinet and hopefully going to be requesting some additional funding for not only the expenses for the acquisition of these easements, but also for any suspension costs that we've had incurred so far. Because this is a capped project, we're seeking funding elsewhere. And I believe we also have that in our capital outlay request as well. So at this time, I will stand for any questions.
Well, Karen, this is Gary. To help me understand a little bit more, are we on track with the hazard mitigation easements? I see we're at about 52 or 39% of the total.
Right. When we say on track, as far as hoping to have the easement secured to go out for bid, where we feel like we can as soon as we get these, we have several on the back burner working, just waiting on the updates on the access easements. But our goal is to have everything secured, hopefully by the end of July. meaning that if everything's ready to go and we feel like we're at 75% of securing the easements with 30 days out, we'll go ahead and advertise. But we want to make sure we have secured all them prior to construction, so.
Thank you.
Karen, this is Lynn. I apologize for my tardiness, and if you've already touched on this, forgive me, but obviously we can see from the construction total estimate, $30,700,000. The funds that we received on the Sandy recovery was $31,300,000.
Well, Mayor, that is what the amount that we've received this far. That doesn't include what the state still owes us some money as well.
Okay.
And that is usually issued upon when they close out.
Okay, well, on the follow end of that question was, when will we get, I know we've had updates before, and I don't want to forget about the engineering and all the other things that we've done with, say, H2M Hill over the years and all the money that we've expended that was, and it wasn't our fault. I mean, we've all known that it was a change in management and FEMA and all that other stuff. So when will we be able to see a forecast on just what I know we've talked about it in the past, but an update on the forecast for shortages and revenue or in money?
Right, I believe in discussions with Judy, the finance director, she has stated that as soon as we have a good number as far as when the bids are awarded, we'll have a secure number. Right now, we're basing everything off of the engineer's estimate. So once we get those numbers finalized, we can actually get hard numbers and be able to present some solid numbers as far as shortages. But if we want to, if you would like to see a breakdown of what everything and based upon the engineer's estimate, we can get a better picture for you if that's.
Yeah, I would, and then we can take just from our recent experience a plus or minus factor to add to that, but just to give us a good idea of what's been expended, what's left out of that 31 million, because I know we've spent quite a bit of it, and just look down the road to the future. And then also, I think we've got a new process, pardon me, in play for, we went through this with the, pardon me, the attorney, and also some change orders or whatever to make sure that those have gone through all the channels now. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We are we're bringing everything in relations to the disaster on the PW 155, which is the sewer line. We bring all that before the JUB, and then the other part of this disaster, as far as bridges goes, before the council. So we can wrap that. If you'd like to see it in a big picture as far as the whole disaster, or if you would like to see it broken down by project worksheets, we can do that as well.
I think the project worksheets would be fine for me, but it depends on what the other commissioners would like. But just to give us a decent feeling of where we're going to need to be so that we can start making sure. And I know that you've got many plans on being able to file for additional funds and whatnot, but just for a comfort level to make sure that we all understand where those options are. That's all I'm saying. And then one last question. Have we received the letters from Mr. Stinson?
Yes, sir. He actually came by the office on Tuesday and signed, him and his wife signed everything. So we have all the easements in place for the lift stations. And he also did sign his hazard mitigation easement as well.
Awesome. Very good. And then we've upheld our position on that agreement?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mayor. All right, if there's no other, the next item under regular items is number 4, discussion on solar energy at the regional wastewater treatment plant, and we're open for discussion on this item.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Several years ago, we got a proposal from Southwest Solar, and it was on a PPA, which is a paid provider agreement. So what they would do is they would put in the system at their cost and then charge us a reduced rate from what we're paying from Otero now. And their estimate was a $84,000 savings the first year. And we don't have to outlay any money. And for Isaac, it's pretty much seamless. You don't have to throw a switch or adjust anything. You're either running off solar or running off Otero. And you're paying whoever you want or whoever's providing the power. The other way to do it is to pay for the system ourselves, which would be relatively expensive. I don't think Tim's on there, but he's done one like that before, and they paid for it with the savings on the utility bills. So, and then when it's paid for, it's free. So either way, I think it's something we ought to look at. And Southwest Solar's proposal the first time was they were going to put the collectors on top of the buildings and some of them on the ground. And I don't think Isaac has the space, and the buildings weren't engineered for that, so that's probably a problem. But I've talked to Bordy Williams, and he and his family own that land adjacent, kind of behind the treatment plant. And they've agreed that they would lease it to one of the solar companies. So if we decide to go forward with this, they would just write a contract that any of the companies could use. And I've got 3 companies that have expressed interest over the past few years. And Eric looked on CES, and there's 10 qualified CES contractors in the state. So I think we'd get pretty good response from it. And we'd have to sit down and figure out exactly what we want. We may, from the utility bills, we can figure out the size we need. And then maybe single axis tracking would be the most economical to do for now. And a lot of these contracts will have a buyout at a certain point. And if we want to do that, we could make that part of the proposal, where after so many years, and what they want to do is they want to amortize their equipment out and get all their tax credits. And then they're willing to get out of them fairly reasonably. So we could put that in there too. But it seems like if we can save that kind of money without any outlay, it ought to be something we look at. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or if I could even answer them, but.
Chairman Crawford, Councilor Cornelius, there's also a third option to kind of muddy the waters a little bit more.
Good.
And so there's a process called an Energy Savings Performance Contract. And so what happens is those are those 10 companies that I was telling you about, John, that have been approved for the state. So basically these companies would enter into a contract with us to say that they would guarantee with bonding that their services for engineering and the capital costs for the solar installation would be paid off in X amount of years. So we would have to upfront the capital cost, but if we don't get the cost savings that they propose, their bond has to pay us the difference for the capital costs that we've expended. we'd have to invest the capital up front though. But we get reimbursed through the savings over time.
We looked at one of those one time.
Yes.
Somebody did one, and we didn't pursue it because it looked like we could do all that stuff ourselves without paying their overhead. And they also didn't do it right. They had some meters.
And that was with Johnson Controls. I
Right.
believe I was working with it on them, and I did have some concerns about their proposal, and it seemed kind of hastily put together, and it seemed like it seems like they were covering the capital costs, but it wasn't actually giving us gain. It was just kind of spending money. We weren't going to lose money, but we weren't gaining anything.
Right.
All right, at this point, I'm going to turn the meeting back over turn it over to the chairman, Mayor Crawford. So Mayor Crawford, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor Holman. I apologize again to everybody for my tardiness. So, John, what are you proposing, that we reach out to these companies and start talking to them?
Well,
The
I
10th?
wanted to see if there was any interest in it, and then I can talk to Bordy and get him to come up with a lease, and then we need to develop some minimum specs, I think, of what we want.
Okay.
And then to me, if we're doing the PPA, they're selling us electricity. They know more about design than I do. They, I think, will design the most efficient system that they can put in so they can sell us more power.
Right.
But we could just put it out for,
And it's been several years since we really looked at this, so I'm sure that they've probably streamlined some of those, because, there was a discussion over which type of a company we needed to do business with,
yeah, and I don't know that much about
BPAs.
costs for that outright buying them.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, we do have to do engineering and pay for it.
Right. Okay.
And we should be able to pay for it in savings, but you still have to have that money. We'd have to bond it some way.
Well, and I can tell you just some of the stuff that we're looking at right now in this recovery money from the federal government. There's a lot of opportunities in there, especially for green projects, and I guess this would fall right in slab dab in the middle of funds and infrastructure and things like that. So who knows? But how about you, Mayor Holman, and you guys? Do you want to go ahead and proceed, Joey, and asking some questions and digging into this?
Yes, sir, Mayor Crawford. I've already discussed with John a little bit. I think we need to move forward with different options here and review it. Maybe get a couple different type of proposals together.
Okay. All right. So, John, how would you like to proceed?
Well,
Do you want?
If you guys are interested, maybe probably with Eric and Joey's help, we can design some, or figure out what we think we need. And then we can put that out. They'll all want a year's worth of utility bills,
Right.
so they know what they're getting. We've got multiple meters down there, but we were, and Isaac could probably know, but we were spending over $30,000 a month on electricity down there.
Okay.
So if we could get some savings out of that, we'll just have to decide whether we want to do it for no cost or whether we want to invest money and have probably larger savings to pay for it.
Courtney, could you talk to, I guess, Judy and see if we can find out the monthly expenses that we've done for the last year or two out at the wastewater treatment plant? And we'll get those available to the counselors and to the board members.
Chairman Crawford.
Yes.
I've actually done some of that upfront work, and so we can get those bills to everyone.
Okay.
The other thing too is basically, if you have a facility that has approximately a monthly bill of about $800, it's likely a good candidate for solar installations. And so with some of the PPA providers that I've had some conversations with, said that the wastewater treatment plant would be a very enticing contract, but it could also get us to have contracts through our other facilities that use over $800. And I've done an evaluation, and it's the two, our two water treatment plants, the convention center here, Village Hall, and the police station all have regular bills over $800. So we could incorporate those into this cost proposal and possibly have a bigger contract that would extend into just village facilities. I imagine that there might be some similar facilities in Ruidoso Downs that could be eligible, and we could probably do a combined procurement for it.
Okay, that sounds good. So I guess they've already got the work done, Courtney.
Yeah. So, Joey, do you guys have any facilities where you're using more than $800 in electricity a month?
I'm not sure, but I will look into it today. Maybe some of our water production facilities, I'll look into it. And I'll get back with Eric on this.
Okay, yeah, if you can do some research, if everybody's interested, we might put together a bigger package, although this one, just because of the makeup, will have to be kept separate, I believe. Even though we could ask them to do the others, I think this is paid differently.
Right.
So, Mayor Crawford, and Karen, please speak up if I misrepresent this, but, you know, we should be able to do a procurement for these together. And, you know, we can probably figure out the ways to phrase the contract that certain locations are billed to their respective entities, but it might be that they want everything to be on a single contract. So
Okay.
we'll have to work out those details.
And we'll just have to figure that out, but.
How much time do you think you need, Eric, to get this information together before we could get back together to discuss it?
I think that I could get the bills compiled to review for next regular JUB meeting.
Okay.
I'll talk to Bordy
Okay.
and see if we can get a contract and maybe get an idea on sizes and specs and stuff, kind of the type system we want.
Is that, I know that one of the questions we had was on the, actually on the panels, on the little concrete pads they were looking at and putting them on Bordy's property and then the property around it, to whether they were going to be static or they were actually going to be the solar panels that followed the sun.
But
And that was expensive back then, so maybe those.
with my limited knowledge on those, it seems like the single axis tracking where they just is the most cost efficient now. That technology has changed, still is, but the pricing on the panels and stuff has come down. So hopefully that'll offset it.
I think that's the only
cost.
thing that's gone down.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll look at that, and if Mr. Boyd can have that to us next week, then maybe we can get together and make a sound decision on whether to proceed, and then we can reach out after that to some of the CES contractors and see what it would take to get.
Yeah, we can do that, and then maybe we can get some information from Tim since he's done the
Is that in Santa Rosa or Vegas or Santa Rosa?
I believe.
Mr. Boyd, are you familiar with any other communities that have this type of setup on their treatment plants or water production or anything like that?
Chairman Crawford, I'm not familiar with any facilities, but I do know that a lot of the schools in Santa Fe and Albuquerque have gone through the energy savings performance contracts and have had some pretty substantial energy cost savings.
Okay.
Well, Silver City, TRC, Chama just voted to put one in. There's several treatment plants around the state that have done this already.
Maybe if you could do a search and then maybe we can reach out, and if you need me to help, or Tim or anybody at the Village Hall to reach out and try to garner that information, but we'll be happy to do that.
Okay.
And then that way we can get it to our partners in the Downs and everybody can look at it and see. Because I know we have the Horton that'll go online. I know we don't have a lot of historical data, but I think that'll be way over 800 a month. So, okay. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. Do you have anything else?
No,
Okay.
sir.
All right. Do either of you gentlemen have anything else to comment with Mr. Boyda?
No, sir.
Okay. Do we have any reports from any of the commission board members?
No.
We don't have any here. Do you gentlemen have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. And then looks like we have a closed session item. Could I get a motion to go into closed session, please?
Mr. Chairman, move that we go into a closed session for discussion subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant Joint Use Board is or may become a participant. State Statute 1015-1H7, New Mexico Statutory Authority 1978. Any action taken as a result of the closed session will be brought back into open session.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? None? Roll call, please, ma'am.
Counselor Jackson?
Aye.
Counselor Cornelius?
Aye.
Chair Crawford?
Aye.
Joey Jarvis? Joey Jarvis?
Aye.
Mayor Holman?
Aye.
Okay, now then, we'll just give a few minutes to go into closed session, and I'll wait for our IT man with the plan to give me the thumbs up.